Hi everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. I hope you're having a great day. Today we're at Holmes Honda to do a comparison between the 2023 version of the Honda Passport and the fully redesigned version of the 2023 Honda Pilot. These two have a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. Well, they did until 2023, as the Passport has yet to receive the updates that the Pilot did. And there is one interesting difference that I want to bring up right off the bat, and that's the fact that the starting price, believe it or not, is lower on the Pilot, $36,300 compared to $41,100 on the Passport. Now, the Passport does come standard with all-wheel drive for 2023, but for 2023, you can also find something on the Pilot that you won't yet find on the Passport. And what I'm referring to has everything to do with the sunroof. We're looking into the interior of the Passport right now. And now we are looking into the interior of the Pilot. I likely don't need to say too much more because you can see the difference. Now, I'm wondering when we are going to see the same changes that have come from the Pilot make their way over to the Passport, because obviously, typically, these two mirror one another. There's not a lot of differences, except the fact that the Pilot has 3 rows and the Passport has 2, among a few other little minor changes. I did make a video on these two models, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and showed the fact that the spare tire location was one of the differences between the two. But let's look at the real differences in case you're torn between one or the other. Taking a look from the head-on view, it's pretty obvious what the differences are. Both have a wide front end that is fairly squared off, LED headlights and LED fog lights, but you can tell the difference in the overall design. The grille on the 23 Pilot is a little bit wider and a little bit more slender compared to what we see over here. It's a little taller, but not quite as wide on the Passport. And being that these are 2 different trim levels, I can only work with what's available in inventory. So if anybody complains, well, it doesn't really help, doesn't make any sense, because I can't make things magically appear. But you'll notice that you have the gloss black brow here on the Passport and the chrome brow on the Pilot. Both have a very nice look to them. We're also going to have the active air curtains built into the front end of each model to help improve aerodynamics, airflow, and help improve gas mileage. Now, one thing that is interesting here is with the Passport, you could see the direction Honda is going with having a little bit more squared off front end. But you can also tell from this particular angle that the front end, from basically the front bumper to the A-pillar, is a little bit shorter on the Passport than it is on the Pilot. When we see the Passport fully redesigned, I'm assuming we're going to see basically the same look. Those proportions should be the same, but let's take a look from the other side here, just in the interest of fair reporting. Now, obviously, I said you can get the Passport. It only comes in all-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive is gone as of 2023. With the Pilot, the Elite and the Trail Sport trim levels do come standard with all-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive is going to be standard on all other trim levels, but all-wheel drive is available. And we're going to have the power adjustable side view mirrors, but seeing again a little bit of a different look here, but you can really see the overall design differences. Turn signal indicators built into each, but you can see again those differences in location. What do you think about that? Do you like what the 23 Passport has, having it, well, basically in almost the middle area of the side view mirror compared to being in the lower portion for the Pilot? Now, here's another big difference. Here's blind spot monitoring. On the Pilot, on the Passport, you'll notice it's not in the mirror. It's actually right here. That's the blind spot monitoring indicator. So there are differences where all of that is concerned. You can see the roof rails look pretty much the same, But obviously, as we work our way to the rear, you can see the big differences in overall design, not only in the taillight design, but, well, pretty much everything else. Always curious to know which one you prefer. We're going to have the rounded exhaust on the Passport, and obviously going to have more of a rectangular shape here on the Pilot. I know people do not typically concern themselves with things like that. I don't think anyone's going to say, I don't like the design of those exhaust outlets, I'm going with a different vehicle. Well, I don't know. In this day and age, anything seems to be possible. And while the numbers may sound the same, both models have a 3.5-liter Honda V6 under the hood, there are some differences. In the case of the Passport, it's the previous generation of the engine. It makes 280 horsepower, 262 pounds-feet of torque, and is mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission. And how about MPGs? We'll do a comparison there as well. 19 city, 24 highway, 21 combined. And Honda says the Passport should use 4.8 gallons of gas per every 100 miles driven. Under the hood of the 2023 Pilot is also a 3.5-liter V6, but this is the dual overhead cam version. It is not the same motor by any means. Now, it only makes 5 more horsepower, 285 compared to 280, and the torque numbers remain the same at 262. One other difference here is the fact that you have a specifically tuned for the Pilot 10-speed automatic transmission, and that does make a difference out on the road. What about MPGs? Well, we're looking at 19 city, 25 highway, 21 miles per gallon combined, and again, 4.8 gallons of gas per every 100 miles driven. The big difference is how these models operate. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the test drive because there is a difference. One area where there is no difference, towing capacity. 5,000 pounds max for each model. And there will be some differences by trim level, but in this particular case, both models have the hands-free power tailgates, so we will open both of those up. And one other thing I thought I would show you, again, in the interest of fair reporting, here is that same thing that we saw previously with the previous generation of the Pilot, where the differences between the Pilot and the Passport, spare tire location. The good news is both models still have spare tires. Cargo capacity for the Passport comes in at 50.5 cubic feet, up to 100.7, up to 100.8 cubic feet. And we'll lower the rear seats by simply pushing these buttons. And one difference that we're going to find here is the fact that you have a one-sided floor basically here. With the Pilot, you can actually flip this floor over and have either the carpeted side or the plastic side, and that's very obvious by the fact that you don't have a release on this side of the floor as you do on the carpeted side. We'll also find obviously the buttons for lowering the middle row seats, or the rear seats I should say here. There are no middle row seats, right? And there is the 12-volt power outlet and a little bit of storage space on each side. And now we move on to the Pilot, 18.6 to 86.5 to 87 cubic feet. And to lower these seats in this case, there's not a button. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed, but let's see if I can do it. We'll just do one side. That's how you lower the rear seats. The third row, there is a middle row here in this case. Yes, it's early in the morning when I'm shooting this video. Just give me a break and we'll just consider it that I'm too sleepy to be saying the right thing. Now we will go ahead and lower this. So here are our 2 rows, getting it correct here instead of saying there's a third row in the Passport, right? You can laugh at me, it's okay. But you can see that you can lower these seats, obviously the seat backs. And one other thing that's different here is that you can remove this middle seat right here, just like you can in the Honda Odyssey, and completely take that out. Now that's only the middle seat in the middle row. And we'll see once again that we have the 12-volt power outlet right here, storage on each side, a couple of different options there for size. And like I said, you have the dual-sided floor here. So let's see here if I can do this. So here's your carpeted side. Let's see. Am I talented enough to do this one-handed? We're about to find out, because I'm going to let you see the whole process here. There we go. I was able to do that. So if you need to have a plastic side, maybe you have something back here that would get the carpet dirty or whatever the case is, that is a nice option to have. And one more thing that is here that I don't believe is on the Passport just yet. I don't remember ever seeing it, so I don't think it's there. But it is the fact that you have the walk-away feature right here. Now you notice when I push that button, it just beeped. So here's the deal with that. The reason why that's called the walk-away feature is that as of right now, nothing has happened. I haven't pushed anything else. I haven't done anything else. So let's just say that I don't want to use the feature with the motion sensor under the bumper right here to close the rear door, but my hands are both full and I push that button. Well, the next thing that's going to happen is I walk away and the rear door automatically closes. I have one free hand, so I'm not making that happen. That is called the walk-away feature. And we'll take a look into the rear seating area and see what rear seat passengers are going to find. Here is the door bin set up. There are cup holders located in the doors themselves, in the door panels. You do have the privacy shades that rear seat passengers can put in place if so desired, and plenty of room here as well. And there's also a fold-down armrest with those cup holders built in. And then we have the seat pockets on the rear of each seat, as well as the third zone of climate control, heated seats, controls for the third zone of climate control, and you can see we have the power outlet as well as 2 USB connectivity options. And while there are similarities with the Pilot, there are also differences. You can see the differences with the layout of the door panel. We're going to have the door bin and the cup holders here, but they're not actually up in this area and part of the armrest. You will see the privacy shades still here, going to be on both doors, on both models. And then rear seat pockets, we also have the USB connectivity, the third zone of climate control that can be controlled from this rear area. And here is a difference. I talked about how you can remove this middle seat right here. It depends on trim level, but in this case, it is here. And here are the cup holders with a little bit of storage space and technically a fold-down armrest. But the difference is that this one is quite a bit lower. I kind of have to lay down or lean down to my side a little bit to be able to actually make contact with that armrest. In the Passport, it's a little bit higher up. Here in the Passport, we're going to see the door bin, plenty of space for the upper and the lower areas. Again, the cup holders right there, and you have some gloss black trim that's going to work its way from the door panel into the interior. As you can see, we'll take a quick look into the glove box area. Plenty of space in there. And then we're going to have the heated and ventilated seats. Here are the connectivity options. And again, based on trim level. Here we have the wireless charging pad and the push button shifter. A little bit more of that gloss black trim with the cup holders. But a big difference is going to be found in the seat design, as you can see with the fold-down armrests here and the center console. It has more of that, what I like to call garage door style lid for the center console, and there is the 12-volt and another USB option, and quite a bit of space within that area. And here on the Pilot, we do have some similarities to the design of the door bin and the upper and lower door bin, I should say. You still have the gloss black trim, but you can see that it's a little bit larger, a little bit of a different design, and we'll work our way in here. Here's something you didn't see on the 2023 Passport, and that's going to be the storage space above the glove box. Cell phones would fit in there very well, among other potential items, and quite a bit of space within the glove box. We're going to have, again, our USB connectivity and 12-volt. There is the wireless charging pad. The same shifter setup, it's push button again, but we have some differences here, as you can see. But like I said, the seats are different. You don't have those fold-down armrests here. And the center console sitting higher than it did. It also does not have the garage door style lid, as I like to call it. So let's see what this looks like a little bit higher up, a little bit easier for me to use. It's more comfortable than the armrests that are built into the seats on the Passport. And we'll take a look inside and see that there is quite a bit of space in there. But in this case, you don't have the connectivity for USB and 12-volt options. And looking in through the driver's side door, I probably don't need to tell you too much about what's going on here. You do have the 2 settings for seat memory. It's only going to be on the driver's side on both models. We'll just take a look into the interior. As far as our options go, you have the tilt and telescopically adjustable steering wheel, but the most noticeable differences, I believe, of all in the interior, we'll reach up here and push the button to start the engine and get the ignition going. You can see the difference in the design of the instrument cluster and the dashboard. Everything here redesigned for the Pilot, not here in the Passport, but obviously you can see that. Now the flickering effect, I apologize if you watch me regularly. I say this a lot for those who don't watch me regularly, but hopefully we'll start doing so. That flickering effect has to do with the shutter speed of my GoPro. No matter what we change it to, it still does that. But it's not actually flickering in real life. It's just through the lens of this camera. So you can see the differences in the overall layout of the design of the steering wheel. We do have built-in navigation here on the screen, but the angle of the screen is different. That's going to be the biggest difference you're going to see between the two. Both very easy to use and very easy to learn. Maybe you've never had a model like this before. You do have built-in navigation for both, and you're going to have the heated and ventilated seats. I like that. There's your ventilated seats. That's what we're going to use on the test drive today, because there's no way I need heated seats when it's headed for over 100 degrees today. That's why I'm out shooting early in the morning. You can see there is the current time, 7:46 a.m. I showed you the drive mode selector in the Pilot. Here's your drive mode selector in the Passport. Let's go through those driving modes. We have normal, snow, mud, sand, and it's going to go back to normal, but you also have sport mode here. So you have drive, and that's going to bring up the D, and then you have S as well. That's going to be your sport mode. Some people call it sequential mode, but it's actually sport mode. And now we get into the differences with the fully redesigned 2023 Pilot, possibly what we're going to see sometime in the future. I don't know if it's going to be 2024 or not. Honda hasn't said anything for the Passport, so I'm not going to say anything either, because I flat don't know. But you can see the differences and some of the similarities in the design here. We're also going to have seat memory. I believe that Honda should be offering a seat memory on the driver and passenger side on both of these vehicles at this price point. But the differences, let's talk about those, because here's what we have. A completely updated digital instrument cluster here. Looks more modern, I believe, in my opinion. But tell me what you think. Which one do you like most? The design of the Passport or the design of the Pilot, as we have right here? And here are the differences in the design of the steering wheel. I told you that is a little bit different. And I will say that while the overall design is the same as far as what you see on the screen itself has changed. And you have a couple of different options and sizes as far as what you can get here in the Pilot. But you can see that it's at a 90-degree angle, a completely different look, and it actually does reduce glare, so that's a good thing. And one thing I didn't show you in the Pilot, or excuse me, in the Passport, I'll show you here in the Pilot, but it looks the same in both, the multi-view rear view camera, and you can see those different views. Lighting is a little bit different here, so that's why we're not seeing the flickering effect between the shutter speed and the lighting. That's what does that, in case you are curious. Dual zone climate control in both, but guess what's missing here? You guessed it, no ventilated seats. Not in this case. Dual zone climate control, or really tri-zone climate control, in both models. So a lot going on where that is concerned, but you can see the differences in the overall design and layout. I'm curious to know which one you like most. Some people will gravitate towards the Passport and say, I really like that older generation's look, the previous generation. It's not that old, right? But one big difference is going to be getting out on the road and taking a drive. Let's get out and see what that's like. And to give fair time to both vehicles before we hit the road for the test drive, let's go through our driving modes here and see what we have. So here's what we have: normal, econ, snow, trail, sand, and tow mode. You're also going to have your econ mode. I didn't show you that, but the button is there on this area in the Passport. You probably saw that earlier in the video, but you do have econ mode in both. And much the same, we have D and S, so you're going to have your drive or your S. So same basic thing, drive, and sport mode. Some people, again, call it sequential, but it is sport mode. Okay, we're going to start our test drive portion of the video out with the Passport. The big difference here is going to be what's under the hood and the transmission that the engine has made it to. But before we get to talking about that and actually giving a demonstration of what we have, I'm going to let you listen for a few seconds and hear what the road noise is like. And hopefully there's enough noise here, my microphone picks up enough to give you a good comparison. So we'll start doing about 70 miles an hour in the Passport. Now, I know a lot of people might say, wow, that's really noisy. Well, we're on a terrible road, very much washboarded out, very rough road. So it's kind of overkill for a demonstration like that. But the ride quality here is still very good in this Passport. This road is definitely a great place to test shocks and suspension and road noise and all those kinds of things. Comfort-wise, it's a comfortable vehicle. You can obviously adjust the seats here in the front to your liking. They're both power adjustable seats for the driver and the passenger. A very easy vehicle to see out of, but you do have blind spot monitoring, the same thing we're going to have with the Pilot when we switch over vehicles in just a bit. But the main thing here, while the technology here is very easy to learn, everything is easy to get to, you have plentiful space for the driver and the passengers, the big difference is going to be the responsiveness of the powertrain. So let's get over here. We're going to take a right, and I did use my blinker for those who may be critical of that. I've had people that tell me because I criticize other people for not using your blinkers that I'm not. Pay attention, because I did. But listen carefully. Here's the thing. Listen to the motor. I don't want to get into it too much, but you can hear the 3.5 liter VTEC is working hard to get up to speed. The speed limit on this road is 50 miles per hour. It's not the end of the world necessarily, but for some people, you're probably not going to notice the difference. But for others, you might say, yeah, if you hop into the Pilot with the new 3.5 liter, you will notice the difference. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe even somebody who doesn't have an automotive-based background will still be able to notice the difference. I'm not sure. But one way or another, this one's going, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to discourage anybody from buying a Passport. I'm just giving you my honest experience based on what I'm dealing with here. The Passport will get down the road with no problem. It gets up to speed with no problem. It just works a little harder to get there. But overall, a very nice vehicle. I am interested to see what we have coming for 2024, although as of the time I'm shooting this video, Honda hasn't said anything just yet. Okay, now we're out on the road in the Pilot, and we'll do the same basic thing here that we did with the Passport. I'm gonna have to slow down a little bit because of people trying to pass, but we'll get by the 18-wheeler up here and get around slower moving traffic and try and get up to the same speed we were earlier, about 70 miles an hour, and give you a sampling of the road noise. So I'll be quiet again and let you listen. For me personally, I think it's a little more quiet here within the interior of the Pilot than it was in the Passport, but not a major difference. Tell me what your thoughts are down in the comments section. And just as was the case with the Passport, everything here is easy to learn, easy to use, no big deal. Easy to see out of. The blind spot monitoring is built into the side view mirrors, so you can see what's going on there with that. We talked about the differences where all of that is concerned earlier in the video. Very comfortable interior, plenty of room for driver and passengers. But the big difference, we get over here, we'll take our right, just like we did earlier in the video, and then I'll give you a sampling. When you get on the pedal here, it's a whole different experience. Notice that the RPM of the engine doesn't climb as aggressively here in the Pilot as it does with the current generation of the Passport. And we've talked about the differences and why that is earlier in the video. This entire engine combination and transmission, having that extra gear, is just smoother. Everything works better. It's more efficient. And the engine doesn't work as hard as the VTEC. So that's my experience. You might have to drive the vehicles for yourself to really know, but I tell you what, I'm very impressed in the differences here. I'm not going to guess as to what 2024 holds for the Passport because Honda has yet to officially say anything. I know there are some videos out there on YouTube and probably other places where people are speculating of what is coming, but until Honda says it, I'm not going to guess. I don't know if we're going to see the full redesign or not. Maybe we'll see this new dual overhead cam version of the Honda 3.5 liter V6 engine making its way into the Passport. Maybe the 10-speed automatic transmission, I don't know. It's all speculation at this point. But it will be interesting to see what happens. I'm sure in time, whether it's 2024 or maybe 2025, we'll likely see, well, basically the same thing we've seen for the last few years, where the vehicles pretty much mirror each other with the exception of spare tire location and the third row, which is really the reason for the difference in the spare tire location on each model. But other than that, they're pretty much the same vehicle. It just depends on how much passenger space you need. But either way, both are a great choice, even though they have a lot of differences between the two right now. So depending on what your situation is passenger-wise, well, obviously that could be the deciding factor. But I'm curious to know what you will choose or what you might choose between the two models. Okay, it's your turn to talk. Tell me what your thoughts are. Which model do you like most and why? Obviously, as of right now, the Passport is not redesigned. The only big change we saw for 2023 was that the fact you cannot get it in front-wheel drive anymore. All-wheel drive is standard. We're not sure what's coming for 2024. I honestly would be surprised if Honda does not bring the same look and features and functionality from the 23 version of the Pilot over here to the Passport. But tell me what your thoughts are. I know the big difference is going to be that a lot of people, you're going to have more people to haul around, maybe a larger family, so you're going to need to go with the Pilot because it offers 3 rows compared to the 2-row capacity and 5-passenger capacity of the Passport. But tell me which one you like the most, why, tell me what your thoughts are. I'm always curious to know. So I want to say a special thanks to my friends here at Holmes Honda for loaning me both of these models for the day, and a special thanks to each and every one of you for giving me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing if you haven't yet. And if you want to learn about other vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, check out the video that's on the screen right now, and I will see you there.